Welcome. In this short video, we're going to discuss eating disorders, briefly just discussing anorexia and bulimia nervosa. Anorexia is one of the more commonly known eating disorders. A lot of times it's the one that comes to mind when we think of eating disorders, although there are a lot out there, we just don't have the time to cover them all. So anorexia involves severe dieting and or exercise that can lead to severe weight loss. Often there's this pathological fear of becoming fat. And so again, that's where the severe dieting comes in, this exercising to the extreme. And it's characterized by distorted body image. So the individual doesn't see themselves the way we see them. Often they might start off perfectly healthy weight, but they don't see themselves that way. And so they start this severe dieting and exercise. And ultimately it can lead to malnutrition. And so there can be some really severe adverse health outcomes. Bone loss can occur, heart failure, kidney failure can occur, amenorrhea, which is when they stop menstruating, and ultimately it could eventually lead to death if it's not controlled. So these individuals, they need help. They need a therapist to help them view their body image realistically. They need to reimagine the way that they see food and the way that they think about food and the way that they view exercise. So when I was in college, there was a girl on my dorm floor, and at the time I really didn't know much about anorexia, and so I didn't even think about it at the time. But when we started off the year, she was a perfectly healthy weight. We would go in groups together to the dining hall at night often, and for the first month or so she did that with us. And then she got this boyfriend, and we don't know if it was we kind of thought that was what spurred it on. She stopped going to the dining hall with us, but then we noticed that she was going to the gym a lot. I mean, we're talking like 2-3 times a day. She'd come back in her gym clothes. Oh, I just went for, an hour of this, an hour of that, or whatever it was. And then she started getting really, really thin, to the point where she didn't look healthy anymore. She was emaciated. And so, again, don't know if the boyfriend had any involvement in this or not, but she definitely had a distorted body image. And I wish I'd known at the time, so I could have said something and helped her get some help, because she needed to, get healthier so that none of these adverse health outcomes occurred to her. Bulimia nervosa is another common eating disorder, especially that we see among college-age students. It involves episodes of binge eating that are then followed by behaviors like self-induced vomiting or even the use of laxatives to prevent the weight gain. So they may look like they're eating normal or even sometimes eating to excess, and then they will excuse themselves and then they'll purge. So when I was in college, I didn't personally know or were aware of anybody that was had bulimia, but I did have a girlfriend that she said she knew so many people that lived in her dorm that actually talked about purging, talked about how they'd eat or they would drink, and they would do these, take on a high calorie count, and then they would purge so that they didn't gain the weight. And again, with purging, of course, things like tooth decay could happen. You might be ingesting the food and getting some of the calories, so they don't necessarily always turn out being very thin. They can be, too thin, but they aren't necessarily getting the nutrients they want. So heart failure, kidney failure, also a possibility with bulimia. So again, these individuals, they need to seek out help, or you need to help them get help so that they can, again, see their body image in the proper light, that they can change the way that they think about food and the aspect of controlling what they eat. And again, I'm not a therapist though, so please, if an eating disorder is an issue for you or a friend, please do seek out professional help. And these are just some statistics about eating disorders. So it's important to understand we often think about it in females, but males also can have eating disorders, and they sometimes look a little different in males than they do in females. There are 8 million Americans with an eating disorder. Again, 10 to 15% of individuals with anorexia or bulimia are males. 95% are in that adolescent to young adulthood age. So this is really affecting those young adults, which is the age group of high school and college age students typically. Because it is so hard on the body, individuals with anorexia often do die if they don't seek treatment, they don't get help. And 50% of us actually know somebody with some sort of eating disorder. So I know that was short. There's another supplemental video to talk more about eating disorders, but I think this is an important topic to discuss and to be aware of.